Well, good morning, children. Want to introduce you to a couple of people here. A couple of beings. This is my friend, Elvis. Say hello, Elvis. He's not usually allowed on the sofa, but he's going to join us today because he likes hearing stories. And this is my friend, Jiaan. My friend, Jiaan, is one of my favorite people. And she is my friend who taught me how to storytell. So Jiaan is going to be with us and she's going to hear our story today. The story we're going to be listening to today is called The Story of Ferdinand. It's one of my favorite books ever. I've read it probably 700 times. It's by Munro with drawings by Robert Lawson. And I would say the reason that I love this book is because Ferdinand ends up to be somewhat different from the other beings around him. And I have always felt a little different too. Maybe you feel a little different. I don't know. But let's go see what happens in the country of Spain. Once upon a time, we see here a beautiful castle and some fields and plains and farms on this page. And on this page it says, there was a little bull and his name was Ferdinand. There he is. And Ferdinand he's looking there. What's he looking at? I think he's looking at a flower. And I think that flower has a butterfly landing on it. All of the other bulls that Ferdinand lived with would run and jump, and they would butt their heads together. I guess for some people that's fun. And here we see that Ferdinand is not doing that. Let's see what's on the next page. But Ferdinand did not enjoy that. It says, but not Ferdinand. He liked to sit just quietly and smell the flowers. Now, you might not be able to see this, but the blanket that Elvis is sitting on has flowers on it. And Elvis is just looking at those flowers, just like Ferdinand. Well, he just liked to sit quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot, and it was out in the pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree. And he would sit in its shade all the day and smell those flowers. And here we can see a beautiful picture of a cow, Ferdinand. And there he is, and he's sitting under this cork tree. And it says he sits there all day, and all he does is smell flowers. Does that sound like fun? Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. Why don't you play with the other bulls and skip and butt your head? She would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. I like it better here, where I can sit quietly and smell the flowers. His mother saw that he was not lonesome at all. There he was alone, and she could tell he wasn't lonesome. And because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she just let him sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. Wow. Look at how beautiful Ferdinand became. My goodness. Look. Oh, what's up there on that tree stub? What is that? That looks like a buzzard. I'll tell you, children, that I am in Texas, and many of you may be in Texas, and we have lots of buzzards here. all the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture, they would fight each other every day. All day, they would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at the bullfights in Madrid. And here, this is a lovely picture. We have a picture of a sign here, and it's telling the bulls about the upcoming bullfight. So this sign is just pasted on the side of the building like that. That's how they used to do it. We have different ways of advertising now, but that's what we used to do. Oh, this is going to be a wonderful page, I can just tell. So, but Ferdinand did not like that. He still liked to just sit quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in big, very funny hats. And they wanted to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. How many funny hats can you see just there? My favorite is the tallest hat. Which is your favorite? All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting and keep leaping and jumping, so men would think that they were very strong and fierce, and the men would pick them. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, and he didn't care. So he went out to sit under his favorite cork tree. He didn't look where he was sitting. And instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? Well, you would sting him, and so would I. And that is just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Wow! Did it hurt? Ferdinand dropped up with a snort, and he ran around puffing and snorting and butting and pawing and pawing at the ground as if he were crazy. And the 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. So they took him away for the bullfight in a cart. What a day it was. Ferdinand's, all the people, flags were flying, bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. So you see, Ferdinand had enjoyed flowers under his cork tree, and now here in the ring, he's got an audience of women wearing flowers in their hair. He recognizes flowers, I think, don't you? They had a parade in the bull ring. First came the banderilleros. My Spanish is a little rusty. With long, sharp pins and ribbons to stick them to the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. I don't know about you, but I can't stand when people are trying to make me mad. Then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome and bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword, and he was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Look at him. Even though he is dressed up, he sure does look like he thinks he is handsome, doesn't he? Then came the bull, and you know who that was, don't you? Ferdinand. Here comes Ferdinand. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the banderilleros were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Oh! Ferdinand ran into the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns downward. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers in all the ladies' lovely hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled. It's nice to just take in a breath and smell sometimes, isn't it? You should try it right now. Well, Ferdinand, he wouldn't fight and be fierce no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the banderilleros were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off with his cape and sword. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he is still under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He is very happy. Thank you for listening. I hope you get to smell something nice today and you get to be happy too. Goodbye until next time.